Hello gamers, and welcome back to another Gunpla review, and today we are going to be taking a look at the high-grade Strike Gundam version Revive. So this is it relatively straight out of the box. Recently I've been painting my kits a lot more, so of course there is some painting on this because I really like this kit. So for starters, the red jewel right here does not stay on at all. Like, it's very hard, you can't even get into the right position really. If you want it to stay on, it has to be kind of forced up a bit. You can see, though, I do have it on the right position because I use some modeling cement. So, it's the only modeling cement I use, though. So be cautious about that. It does not like to stay on, and I do recommend using model cement or glue. Besides that, the only painting I did, yeah, there's like a little bit of blue paint on there. I can't really get that off, but the only painting I really did was here on the bottom of the feet, chrome plate silver. Here on the feet, when I got the chrome EX plate marker, I went crazy with it, and I also did some chrome back here, and then the only actual color correcting painting I did is the red here, because these thrusters are supposed to be red inside if you've ever seen the Gundam Siege anime. Other than that, though, this is just a straight out of box build, and it looks really good. And this is a kit from 2013. Which is insane considering its age. It looks perfect. The proportions are really nice. The color separation on the mobile suit is just, it's spot on. Like, the only stickers on this are just the eyes, front camera, and back camera. And I also will know I also did do a bit of chroming on those Siwa's guns on its head. But yeah, this is a really good looking kit. And looks exactly like it did in the series, just maybe a bit slimmer. In the line art of it, it does look very thick. But when you look at actual images of it from the show, this is perfect. And you've probably realized something while looking at it. This looks a lot like the Granddaddy Gundam, the RX-78 too. That's because Seed was originally meant to be essentially a recreation of the original Gundam, what Gundam would look like in the 21st century. Or was it 20th century at the time? Anyways, it was supposed to be a modern interpretation of original Gundam. So of course, they had to make the main Gundam look a lot like the RX, just a lot cooler. Like when you look at it next to the RX, you can see that they are very similar in terms of, I guess, design and colors. But the Strike here has refined a lot of it and made it look a lot cooler. For example, there's no toyish yellow on it, there's only just a bit on the V-fin. No weird crotch V, just a nice little dot of blue. And the chest has this nice gray running through it and also represents the eventing there. We have that nice double V-fin instead of the just one V-fin. It's just more slick and angular head design. My absolute favorite part of the Strike Gundam, the shoulders. These look so good and they're done really well on this kit. So it's a gray piece, two gray pieces that have been sandwiched with these white pieces, so the shoulders, I guess, kind of have an inner frame. But yeah, essentially what the design is, less toyish colors, you can see the blue is a lot darker, and also just more angles and a much more angular and sharper look. Essentially, I see it as a much more mature version of the RX-78. And I guess also segues, into the size comparisons. Now I have quite a few of my kits in little Ziploc bags right now because I'm currently moving my Gundam display shelf. But I still have the main that we would use for size comparisons. So we already saw a standard size Gundam with it, the RX. So here it is next to Unicorn, New Gundam, and me. So this is a standard size Gundam. Now moving on to accessories, this should be pretty quick. First up we have my favorite Strike Gundam accessory, the armor schneiders, or should I say little tiny pointy knives that basically, with switchblades, they'd fold up and store in those big side skirt pouches. And camera doesn't really want to focus, but seeing as how this is, well, a high grade, of course these don't fold up. And I have done a bit of painting, not with the Chrome EX marker, I didn't have that at the time, just with a standard silver Gundam marker, just to make it look a bit better on the blade, which it did actually have in the series, it was silver like this. But yeah, so these can't fold up or store in the side skirts. We don't get any folded up variants because the side skirts just don't open. Honestly, it's a high grade, so who cares? And these fit into the hands perfectly. Next up on the accessory list, we have its iconic shield. And just like with the Strike Gundam itself, this is a angular, it's really cool looking redesign of the RX's shield. And yes, there is a bit of blue paint on there. Let's just say my blue paint marker kind of exploded. Anyways, this is a very nice looking shield. It's nice yellow coming through. We have the white. On the back we have some nice detail. Fake handle, sadly. And we have the attachment point, which is, see if you can hear that. Yeah, this part in here is made of ABS, but it is a bit floppy, but you don't really notice it when it is on. I will mention that this white, is a sticker. It simply attaches onto one of these holes on the back of the arms, and looks really nice on there. So you can have it on the side, or if you want, for some reason, you can have it on the back because there are 2 peg holes. Next up, we have the beam rifle, and this, as far as I know, should have a bit of white on it. Never mind, that's just the real grade that has the white on it. Anyways, this is a very nice beam rifle, though. The detail gets a bit obscured because of the fact that this is ABS, so it looks a bit fuzzy, because ABS doesn't really keep its mold as sharply as the standard polystyrene that they use, but it's still a very nicely detailed beam rifle. We have our scope there. It's a lot of nice detail. The handle here can move side to side, and it can hold it in 2 hands. And to attach it, it's just a standard high-grade sandwich, so you take your hand, you remove the back, you take the gun, you put it in, and then you put the other half on, and then you have it in its hand. And it fits into the hand really well. I'll also mention that this is the only pair of hands with those standard All Gundam Project fisted hands, because of course this is from the All Gundam Project. And if you're wondering what that is, it was basically a project to standardize quality and articulation in high-grade Gunpla. Essentially what shaped modern high-grade Gunpla. And of course, most of them were built on the same joint system with these drum-style elbows and the knees, which have an actual joint up top, and then just a polycap joint on the bottom. Just a quick history lesson. Anyways, next up we have the beam sabers. These are just your bog standard white beam saber hilts. They consist of 2 parts, and they're just pretty basic. And of course, we get our pink beams for putting in for some slicing action. And of course, we get 2 of those. And these beam sabers store in the final accessory we're going to be looking at, the Aile Striker Pack. So in case you don't know and you haven't watched Gundam Seed, which you should, it's actually a really good show, in my opinion. Same with Destiny, underrated. Well, in case you didn't know, it has this backpack, and basically the Strike Gundam, along with the Impulse, have 3 backpacks. They have their flight backpack, which is the Aile Striker Pack, or in the Impulse's case, the Force Silhouette Pack. Then we have the Sword Striker Pack, or the Sword Silhouette Pack if it's the Impulse Gundam. And then the Launcher Striker Pack, or the Launcher Silhouette Pack if, of course, it is the Impulse Gundam. Basically backpacks that basically are for the Gundams for different, I guess, fight scenarios. Aile Striker Pack's for in the sky. Sword Striker Pack is, I guess, for agility. And Launcher just for on the ground. But I guess they're all technically multi-purpose packs. But the most iconic is the one included in here, which is the Aile Striker Pack. So this is a very nice Aile Striker Pack. Not like the old high grades, which I don't own, but I have seen. It has these tiny chicken wings. But yeah, this is a very nice striker pack. We have the battery right here. We have nice color separation here. There are no stickers on here except for the red. These are huge stickers, which, yeah, I have painted them kind of sloppily, but I painted them. The stickers don't look too bad. They color matched pretty well with the actual plastic. They just peel because, you know, they're stickers. That's kind of what they do. So I recommend just painting your pack. It doesn't matter if you paint it that well. As you can see, I've done mine pretty poorly, but who cares? I honestly don't use the pack that much. But there is some nice articulation on the pack. We have swivel here, some outwards movement, and then these are just on a joint, so you can kind of fold them down like this for like a stored mode. And that's basically all the articulation you get. But yeah, only painting I have done on here is just the red on these wings. Everything else you see is color separated, like the red here, yellow here, all of that. Even the black in there, which is really nice. And this pack has a nice heft to it. And of course, if you want that complete look, you can pop the beam sabers into these holes right here. And of course, that's kind of attached to the Strike Gundam on this one peg hole right here. So no, it is not the standard 2-3mm peg backpack adapter that most modern high grades use. Though the hole is 3mm. But good luck getting an adapter in there with this kind of collar around it. Anyways, you just take the pack, line it up, and push it in. And there you go, you have your nice Aile Strike Gundam. One issue I have with this pack is, I don't know if it'll do it for us on camera, but when removing it, there we go. This piece gets stuck in here. The entire backpack doesn't come off, just this one piece, and it's hard to fish out of there. But yeah, that's just one thing to be wary of. It may just be on my copy, same with the red jewel, but just be warned. Yeah, now that we're done with the accessories, let's move on to the articulation. So, of course, because this is a all Gundam project kit, it's going to have really articulation, like with most high grades. So the head's just on the standard double polycap neck, which I guess wasn't standard at the time. It was still very new, along with the all Gundam project, even though this was released towards the end of said project. So we get a lot of nice movement in our side-to-side, not really hindered by the collar at all, except for the head rotation, which you can get the whole thing, but it does kind of push it off the ball joint a bit. The shoulders are on our standard ball joints, with the forward swinging motion, which goes back or forward really nicely so you can cross its arms. One thing I've noticed is this shoulder wiggle around and it falls off. This shoulder, it's fine. I can wiggle that as much as I can. It's actually hard to pop it out, but I think that's just with the polycaps. Polycaps are really unreliable. That's why I don't like them. They're good because they give you traction, but because they're rubber, but you know what's another thing rubber does? Rubber stretches. And when, for example, you push a ball into rubber, that rubber's going to stretch out a bit. AKA, joint is going to be, a bit looser because the actual thing that goes into it is stretched out. Anyways, we get good movement from the shoulder, from the forwards, and we also get a lot upwards. Basically anything you need unless you want this to do a last shooting pose, which, spoiler alert, it didn't do in the show. Next up we have the full bicep rotation, the double jointed bend at the elbow, and because there's this kind of drum joint, you can bend it backwards like that if you want to do some kind of like fan transformation. The hands are just on ball joints, but there's this one thing that they did in the All Gundam project, which I love, is this. See how that one part's kind of cut off? That means you get a lot more movement from the hands, so you can get them inwards like this for some nice dynamic standing poses. Next up, our ab crunch, and because this is the standard double polycap ball, we usually get a decent amount, but we get quite a bit from this. And nice forwards, backwards, side to side, and we basically get the full rotation. You just kind of have to pull it up a little bit. The front skirts are joined on the runner, but I split them apart so we can kick it up like that. It has the standard kind of rocking joint here, so we get this kick all the way up to the front, which is really good. One thing about the articulation I will talk about is basically up until the waist, it's just standard All Gundam project articulation, but once you get from the waist down, it gets really good. So we already saw that kick up to the front. Sadly, we don't get much out to the back because of the paralyzed rear skirting armor. And then, of course, we do get the full splits, kind of. You have to rotate these back if you want it, and even then, you don't really get it. And you basically get it. It does kind of push these polycaps off their pegs, but it's fine. Next up, the knee bend. We have first joint up here, second joint down here, and it's absolutely perfect. And this kit basically has an inner frame in all of its limbs. The arms, because it's all Gundam project, that style usually has an inner frame. Also, nice split detail here. Looks like a real grade. The legs also do because of the gray showing through. That's just basically a whole leg underneath with some white armor on it. So, pretty cool. Now, this is what makes this stand out from all of the other all Gundam project high grade, like the Wing or the Gundam X. look at the swim movements. This hasn't even been matched by a lot of modern high grades. So there it is, all the way to the front. So that's already pretty good. And I will mention, this is just a standard foot rocking joint with the hinge and the ball joint. But because of all the clearance you get here, you get a lot. So that's to the front. It's pretty good. And then to the back, it's absolutely insane. Like, who needs this? Who needs this amount of movement? It's really good. And then usually for the side with this ball joint, it's pretty good. It's usually like that much. Pretty good. But what they did here, because the polycap itself is kind of on a hinge, they gave you some clear room here so you can also move the polycap itself, and then you get this ankle tilt, which is perfect. So yeah, the articulation on this is basically perfect. I guess aside from the hip movement out to the back and I guess the ab crunch, it has perfect articulation. And this is a pretty cheap high grade as well. And what you're getting is like an ultra articulated Strike Gundam, standard Gundam accessories plus little knives, and an entire Aile striker pack. With stickers only for the eyes, head cameras, red parts of the wings on the Aile striker pack, and a white strip on the shield. This thing is like a work of pure witchcraft. It's that good. And most stores sell this for really cheap because that's what they usually do with main Gundams from series, just so it kind of lure you in. With something so cheap, of course you're going to buy it. It's a steal. And then that kind of gets you into Gunpla, and then you buy all the big expensive things. So this is a must-get. If you like high-grade Gunpla, if you like Gundam Seed, which you should really watch Gundam Seed, and Gundam Seed has neither really good. Basically, if you just like Gundam, then you need to get this kit. And plus, all the poses you put it in look even better because of its amazing design. And if this color scheme isn't really your thing, there's a full-release version of it in the Strike Rouge colors, which is pretty crazy for a color swap that's full release and not be Bandai. Sadly, none of my local stores stocked it, but yours probably will. So yeah, if you're just like browsing through your local hobby store, or even just looking at things on Amazon, if you come across this figure or model kit, you should get it. And one last size comparison with the Freedom. And yes, it can pull off the Aile Striker pose. Yeah, that's it for my review of the high-grade Strike Freedom Gundam, or not Strike Freedom Gundam, high-grade Strike Gundam version Revive. Hope you enjoyed the video. Go buy this kit if you see it, and bye.